During research. In this section, we will consider some things you can do as you carry out your experiments, which can help with the writing process. If you work within a group, you should be sure to keep a record of exactly who you have collaborated with. You should note the roles of all involved, such as who designed the experiment, who collected the data, and who analyzed and interpreted the data. You will need to refer to this when you are creating the author list of authors. Depending on your research field, you may have specific guidelines for about who qualifies to be an author for a paper. For example, the fields of mathematics, physics, computer sciences, social sciences, and medicine all have differing author guides and requirements that each author has to comply with. You may need to speak with or collaborate with multiple contributors to clarify details when writing your article. And if you are asked to revise the article, there could be certain sections that require their approval. ICMJE Guidelines. International Committee of Medical Journal Editors provides guidelines for ethics, preparation, and formatting of manuscripts submitted for publication by biomedical journals. It also provides the authorship criteria. Authorship confers credit and has important academic, social, and financial implications. Authorship also implies responsibility and accountability for published work. The authorship criteria include the following: substantial contributions to the conception or design of the work, or the acquisition, analysis, or interpretation of data for the work, drafting the work or revising it critically for important intellectual content, final approval of the version to be published, agreement to be accountable for all aspects of the work in ensuring that questions related to the accuracy or integrity of any part of the work are appropriately investigated and resolved. These recommendations are intended to ensure that contributors who have made substantial intellectual contributions to a paper are given credit as authors, and that contributors credited as authors understand their role in taking responsibility and being accountable for what is published. So, authorship can be granted to someone who made a substantial contribution to your study, and therefore can be held responsible for the sort of research performed. Recording data. In the previous section, we mentioned how you should question the methods of paper you read to be sure that you understand the complete process. To ensure you're able to provide accurate details in your own papers, you should document the exact process you follow as you conduct your experiments. Note down all the steps you perform, any unforeseen events which occur, and alternative procedures you had to perform, or slight changes to the planned actions. Note down all reactions and relationships that occurred during your experiment. Do not be tempted to assume you will remember how things happened, as we are often prone to forget small details, which may be important later on. As with all events related to conducting your research, you should maintain a methodical record of all your data. Labeling data. When you collect your study results, ensure that all your files are properly labeled. Use a clear system to name and number separate files, and try to use identical or similar conventions across your work. Label all column headings and rows with descriptive titles. If you use codes, be sure to write the code and its definition within the same data file or spreadsheet to ensure they are not separated. Note that you might be able to remember this information for a few days or even a few weeks. However, if you must return to your data after a few years, you may find that you cannot remember what the untitled or cryptic codes in your files mean, and the data may be useless to you. Some authors identify a journal to submit to before they begin writing their articles, as it can help them focus with the writing process. Selecting a journal prior to writing or even designing your research can help you focus your experiments and writing plan in advance. It can give you a clearer idea of the contents of your paper, the key message you want to deliver, and who the audience would be. Once you have identified one journal or listed a few to submit to, look at the journal's aims and scope and the submission's requirements. In addition to helping you decide whether your research would be suitable to the journal, this information may guide you on how to structure your paper and what context to focus on when writing. A journal may provide a style sheet or detailed guidelines on the structure of each section they expect to see in a paper. Often journals are particularly rigid about adherence to the author guidelines published by them. So, using the defined structure can give you a head start in planning your article. Finally, one of the key reasons you might want to select a journal before writing is to know if the journal has prescribed a word limit. It can be very helpful to know this limitation from the beginning so you can plan which information should be included in your paper. It may also be less frustrating as you will not have to revise your paper at the time of submission. In addition, if your paper is not accepted by the journal you had initially selected, your paper should be of suitable length such that it can be resubmitted to any other journal of your choice.